Today, we are going to tackle irregular periods. So, we're going to talk about what causes irregular cycles, what causes the spotting, some root causes that no one's told you about, and what you can do to regulate your cycle and help you get pregnant sooner. Let's dive right in. Period questions are by far the most frequent question I get asked, right? Because it's hard not to symptom spot. Like, why is my period doing this? Why was it a little bit longer? Why was it a little bit shorter? What's normal, what's not normal. Because I also have clients come to me or even people in my DMs that'll say, like, yeah, I have a regular cycle. But then when we break it down, I'm like, well, that's not technically quote unquote a normal cycle. So let's first start by talking about what does a normal, healthy cycle look like. This will be a cycle that is anywhere from 28 to about 33 days long. Now, it doesn't have to be the exact same number every time, but you want to be in that range because anything under 28 days is going to make it a little bit harder to sustain a pregnancy. Our luteal phase isn't quite long enough. What happens, it's almost like our period starts before the egg can implant. So we want a good 28 days. And then anything over 33 days is spaced out a little bit too long. So anything 28 to 33 is good. No spotting beforehand, maybe light to mild cramping, but you shouldn't have big big cramps that keep you from working. That's not normal. Even if your doctor told you that was normal, that is most certainly not normal. It is common, but not normal. You can have some clotting, some clots in your period, in your blood, like your period blood, but you wouldn't want it to be large clots, right? Like clots that if it's big enough that it makes you say, I wonder if this is too big, it's probably too big. So we're looking for a good 2 to 3 to 5 days, maybe even 7 days for some people of good, healthy, full flow, right? Mild cramping, not heavy cramping, no spotting beforehand, no spotting on the back end. That would be a super healthy cycle. And now when I say spotting on the back end, I don't mean like you have a light day and it's light. I mean like your period stops and then you spot for days after that. So that's kind of what a healthy, I keep saying normal, but I don't want to say the word normal. That is what a healthy cycle looks like. Okay. So, what about the spotting? Spotting before a period is the most common question I get. The thing I see the most often is about the 2 to 3 day of spotting before a period. And typically, not always, again, I'm not here to diagnose, treat, cure, right? But most often, that spotting before your period tells us that you're dealing with low progesterone. It's just the most common thing I see. Now, I have a lot of episodes on low progesterone. You can go back and listen to those. It'll tell you what's keeping your progesterone low, how to improve it, that kind of thing. But just know that spotting is typically a progesterone issue. Not always, but typically. Now, spotting in different parts of your cycles can indicate different things too. So, spotting before your period could be low progesterone. Spotting when you're ovulating could be a few different things. It could be because of intercourse, it could be because of ovulation. You might see implantation bleeding, but if you have spotting consistently 2 to 3 days before your period, we're typically looking at a low progesterone issues. Okay, so why would a period become irregular? You're someone that's like, all right, Tori, I got a good idea of what a regular or a normal healthy period looks like, but why did my period become irregular or what's keeping it irregular? Now, this is like we're really opening a can of worms here because it can be so many things. But here are your typical culprits. Number one, not eating enough calories. I see over and over and over and over again that women are not getting enough calories. They're not getting enough protein. So I don't want you to get caught up on all the fads of eating for fertility, like, anti-inflammatory or carnivore or keto or any of that stuff. I want you to just think, am I skipping meals? Do I need to be eating more food? And as women, we typically feel like we eat too much and that we're going to get fat if we eat too much and we need to eat less so we can lose weight. And that's just like this kind of unhealthy subconscious complex we have. But really, it's more likely that you need to eat more food. I also see irregular cycles with nervous system dysregulation. So, high stress jobs, high stress environments, um, lack of healthy communication, lack of sunlight and time outdoors. Like this, this list could go on and on and on too, but some type of consistent chronic dysregulation. And also minerals. Probably the next one would be minerals. So a lack of minerals, a deficiency in minerals, or an imbalance of those minerals. And this can come from things like, again, stress. We lose minerals through stress. We don't put enough minerals in because maybe we're eating too much processed food versus whole foods, but minerals. If you are someone who has a pretty regular period and all of a sudden you find yourself having one weird period, think to yourself, have I had any high stress moments lately? Were you sick? Sickness is high stress. Did you travel? Did you have any family drama? All those things can throw your period off too. And usually that'll correct itself pretty quickly. So this isn't like a chronic irregularity, but if you find that you have a normal period and then 1 month is kind of irregular, that might be what you're looking at. So take an inventory of what's happened over the last month or two to see if it's something that would influence your cycle. Now, I've written down a few like rapid fire questions that chat and Google told me that most of you guys are researching. So I'm going to kind of just rapid fire answer those too. Um, which I did that one. Why is my period irregular? Suddenly become sickness, high stress, lack of calories, nervous system dysregulation, minerals, also PCOS or PMOS as it's now called. That can influence your period as well. And if you are someone with PMOS and you're trying to bring your cycles back, I would highly suggest focusing on blood sugars, because that is really a big red flag with PMOS. And if you have it, you already know that. But that is a great way what a great thing to hone in on to help bring your cycles back to a regular cycle. Can my cycle be different each month? Yes, it can. So, in middle school health class, we're typically taught that a healthy cycle is 28 days long. And so we think that it has to be 28 days every single time. But if this month your cycle is 28 days and next month your cycle is 32 days, not really much to overanalyze there because you're still in that healthy window. That's just kind of a normal fluctuation. So I also, as long as you're in that window, that 28 to 33 window, I don't want you to overanalyze why it's different by 2 days or 3 days. As long as you're in that window, you're good. Why am I skipping periods? We just kind of mentioned that as well. PMOS is the most likely culprit, or a severe lack of minerals and calories. That can also be it. You see women that train like really hard for like the Olympics and stuff may lose their period because they don't have quite enough fat on their body, but that's not typical for the majority of us, right? But we're looking at PMOS, so blood sugar imbalance and PMOS, or we're looking at um, a lack of minerals and nervous system dysregulation. Okay, why is my period late, but I'm not pregnant? That's the most annoying one, right? You get hopeful because it is late and you're like, this is it. And then you take a test and it's still negative. All the things we talked about, sickness, high stress, nervous system dysregulation, or a lack of minerals. Can you ovulate with regular periods or irregular periods? I'm sorry. Can you ovulate with irregular periods? Yes. Typically, if you see that your period was later this month than it was, it's just because ovulation was pushed back. So again, you've heard me talk about how our body's job is to keep us safe, to prioritize safety. So if something is going on like sickness, it will push back ovulation because ovulation is not a priority. Safety is a priority. Healing is a priority. So we might see ovulation be pushed back, which will obviously lengthen our cycle as well. But you can still ovulate. You might just ovulate later. Can I get pregnant if my periods are irregular? Yes, girl, you can. It happens all the time. Do we want to focus on regulating our cycles? Of course. But I don't want you to think that you're disqualified just because your cycle is irregular. If it's super irregular, especially like if you have PMOS, I would say put down your LH strips because those are going to cause you more stress trying to find your fertile window when it's not super regular. So I wouldn't mess with that, but you can still get pregnant with an irregular period. And last, is low progesterone causing my irregular period? If you're having that spotting right before your period, or you have a cycle shorter than 28 days, it's very likely that low progesterone is a cause. So, what can we do? That was a lot of information, Tori. Maybe your eyes are glazed over, like, oh my gosh, that was so much medical information, and that was boring. Just tell me what the heck to do if my cycle is irregular. The thing I would have you do first and foremost is start Rise and Soars. These are my two very favorite supplements. They are frequency charged nutritional supplements, the only of their kind. And Rise really helps to support the nervous system, and Source really works to add minerals back into your system. So that addresses two of the things you heard me repeat over and over again, right? For me personally, I took Rise and Source, and within 2 months, my 24-day cycle that had spotting on the front end lengthened back out to 28, 29 days. My spotting has stopped. I haven't had spotting in over a year. My cramping is easier. I haven't had sore boobs before my period in probably a year as well. So Rise and Source really helped me regulate my cycles. If you're having irregular cycles, this is the easy button. Make sure you're not skipping meals and grab your Rise and Source. What's also going to be really nice about grabbing your Rise and Source is that now you get access to a private community. We're bringing the conception connection back. So this is a private Facebook group for now. I'm going to do live teachings in there, and you also get access to my fertility course, which is going to give you things like cycle charting tips, labs to ask your doctor for. So if you do have an irregular cycle, maybe you're just getting started in this fertility world, that one particular section is going to be a gold mine for you, and it's free for you when you grab your Rise and Source. So that link is in the show notes. I want to hear your feedback. I want to help you get started with your products. I want to see what happens with your cycle, and I want to help you on this fertility journey. So come join us. The link is in the show notes. I love you, and I'll see you next week.